So, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammadin ma'ad al-judi wal-karam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim wa salli alayhi. So, time for the Hadith lesson now. Let's finish off this today. So today we're doing Hadith number 36. So I expect you to have learned something from Hadith number 25. 35. So what was that about? Can you remind me please?
That you shouldn't be envious of another Muslim brother. You should be jealous basically, and that if he's going to buy something, you shouldn't try and make him. You should try and stop that from happening by giving a higher price.
Yeah.
And
Good.
Every Muslim is another Muslim brother. Is a brother of another Muslim.
Someone else?
You shouldn't think that you're. You shouldn't think that your brother is in a lower rank than you.
Good. So always consider better than you.
You shouldn't oppress or humiliate him.
Good. Someone else? Girls?
Ideas inside of the heart.
Heart, yeah.
And it's even enough for you to consider yourself
Better than another Muslim brother. Okay, so that's good. So let's continue and talk about Hadith number 36 today, which is again related to Hadith Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He says, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam qala, that man nafasa an mu'minin kurbatan, that a person who removes a pain from the pains of this dunya, min kurabid dunya, that a person who removes from his Muslim brother a pain from the pains of this dunya, or relieves a brother from the distress and difficulties of this dunya, Almighty Allah will relieve him from his griefs in the life hereafter. So you just learnt about the griefs of the life hereafter in the earlier lesson now, and one way to get relief from that is relieving others in this dunya. So man nafasa an mu'min kurbatan min kurbi dunya, nafasa Allahu anhu kurbatan min kurbi yawm al-qiyamah. So all the pains that we learnt about from the Day of Judgment, Almighty Allah will relieve him from that if he relieved a Muslim brother, a mu'min, a believer, from the pains of this dunya. وَمَنْ يَسَّرَ عَلَى مُعْسِرٍ يَسَّرَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And a person who makes the life easy, or alleviates the difficulties and makes the life easy for another Muslim brother, or anyone in any needy person, anyone who is in difficulties, and then Almighty Allah will make it easy for him in both this dunya and the life hereafter, in the akhirah. وَمَنْ سَتَرَ مُسْلِمًا سَتَرَهُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. And the one who hides, or basically who conceals the faults of a Muslim, Almighty Allah will conceal his faults on the day of in the dunya and the life hereafter. And وَاللَّهُ فِي عَوْنِ الْعَبْدِ مَا كَانَ الْعَبْدُ فِي عَوْنِ أَخِيهِ. That as long as a person remains in the help of assistance of his brother, Allah remains in his assistance. وَمَنْ سَلَكَ طَرِيقًا يَلْتَمِسُ بِهِ فِيهِ علما سهل الله له به طريقا إلى الجنة, that the person who walks the path, follows the path to basically gain knowledge, يلتمس فيه علما, so walks the path in order to acquire or in order to attach himself to the knowledge, then with this Almighty Allah will make the path towards the Jannah easy for him. وما اجتمع قوم في بيت في بيوت الله يتلون كتاب الله ويتدارسونه بينهم إلا نزلت عليهم السكينة وغشيتهم الرحمة وحفتهم الملائكة وذكرهم الله فيهم عنده. So every nation or community, there's no community who gathers or a group or a nation who gathers in one of the houses of Almighty Allah in order to recite the book of Allah, and also in order to learn the knowledge of Islam, to seek knowledge, and to learn the knowledge of the book and learn this book among them, but except the sakina, the tranquility, is revealed unto them and descends upon them, and also the rahmah engulfs them and encompasses them, and the angels, they surround them, and Almighty Allah remembers them in His, near those who are present in His court. So he makes a mention of them and talks about them amongst the ones who are in His presence. وَمَنْ أَبْطَأَ بِهِ عَمَلُهُ وَلَمْ يُسْرِعْ بِهِ نَسَبُ, and whoever is slowed down by his deed will not be hastened forward by his lineage. So I will explain that later. So this was the meaning of Hadith Paak, simple meaning and very beautiful Hadith, which basically explains that removing the difficulties of others in this dunya would basically would save you from all the difficulties we mentioned early in the life hereafter. And similarly, removing a pain from someone will remove your pain from the life hereafter, and also this also indicates that giving loan to someone, that's also one way of removing the pain. So everybody who is in difficulties or financial difficulties, if you're giving loan to them, you're making the life very easy for them. So this indicates that giving loan is very recommended and mustahab. And similarly, a person who is in difficulty now, for example, because he cannot pay his debt, so relieving him from his debt will be great relief for him. So this will also mean that you might have relieved his pain, and that will get you your pains relieved on the day of judgment. Anyone who does so, who relieves the pain, who provides food to someone, or who grants any kind of ease to anyone by granting him loan, giving him money, sadaqah in any manner, or relieving pain, sharing his burden, all of these are included in this Hadith Paak, so they will get their pains relieved on that. For that reason, it is very advisable to help the needy ones when it is required. That is one meaning of the Hadith Paak. Similarly, the one who takes away the pain of another Muslim brother, the one who hides the faults of others, instead of spreading the faults in the public, exposing them to the public, the one who hides the fault of a Muslim brother, Almighty Allah will conceal his faults in the dunya and the akhirah. And whoever remains in the help of a Muslim brother, Almighty Allah remains in his help, in his assistance. And the second part of this also indicates that seeking the knowledge in order to remain firm on the path, this actually makes life easy. People might think that learning the knowledge of this dunya makes life easy. So earning a good degree in the university makes life easy and gets you more money. But that's not how it is. Life is made easy by learning the knowledge of Islam and acting accordingly. So if you look at the lives of those who are followers of Islam, I mean the scholars of Islam, you would be astonished by the ease and tranquility that they have in their life. All the sukoon and all the tranquility and peace is in the lives of those who are serving the deen of Islam. So they have they have the freedom, and they have wealth as well. So all the needs are fulfilled very easily. And similarly, they have the time, all the time on the earth, to do the things they want to do. So people who are indulged into this field, they are better off than the ones who might be driving BMWs maybe, or other expensive cars. I don't even know the names of them. I'm not involved in this, I've never been. So one way of getting tranquility in this life and the life hereafter is gaining knowledge and acting accordingly. So learning the knowledge of Islam is what gets you basically the ease and also amenity of this life and the life hereafter. And it is mentioned that whenever a group of people or a community, they gather in order to learn the knowledge of Islam, then the sakina and tranquility descends upon them, and they are surrounded by tranquility and the rahmah and the angels. So the angels are there to help them. The rahmat is the blessing is there to help them in their life, and the tranquility and peace is what they experience in their life. And Almighty Allah also remembers them. And remember, whoever is remembered by Almighty Allah will never fail anywhere in the life and the life hereafter. But the last part of this Hadeeth Paak mentions that if someone is carried away by their own deeds, بَطَأَ بِهِ عَمَلُهُ, the person who gets carried away by the deeds, this part basically indicates that walking towards seeking the knowledge is highly recommended, and there is great benefit and reward attached to it. And it is mentioned that Almighty Allah revealed to Dawud alayhi salam and told him to get an iron staff in your hand, a stick in your hand, and the shoes made from the iron, and then walk in the path of Allah to seek the knowledge, and walk until the iron shoes are torn apart. Walk that much that iron shoes are torn apart and your staff breaks apart. That is how the effort should be, how much effort one should make in the path to seek the knowledge. But the seeking knowledge is great, there's also great reward attached to it. And so your tranquility descends upon the people, rahmah, blessing, and the malaika surround them, and Almighty Allah remembers the people, such people. So this indicates that those who come to seek the knowledge of Almighty Allah in Islam and Holy Quran and walked in that and make some effort, there's great reward attached to it. But at the same time, the Hadeeth Paak indicates that acting accordingly, acting upon the knowledge is important. And one of the important things in that would be that the person will preach what he learnt. So preaching that further is also important, and acting upon that is also important. But at the same time, not expressing your pride on what you learned is important. So, وَمَنْ بَطَأَ بِهِ عَمَلُ, that the person who gets carried away and who actually thinks that he is doing a good deed basically, or he's special because he learned the knowledge, and many people would think so in this age and day. And it's a time of Facebook basically, so Facebook Live, people doing any tiny little act will put them live on the Facebook and show it to public, and that's the time now. So they will have the cameras. So even when they go to, you'll see them when they go to Haramain Sharifain doing tawaf, which it's meant to be purely for the sake of Allah, purely, I mean, to seek the pleasure of Almighty Allah. Even at that point, you would see them having selfies. I mean, making selfies and putting this onto Facebook. And now that they have got this, facility of showing it live, they will have it live on the screen for you, so you can watch the Umrah live from the comfort of your home. Strange one now we're living in. So, but one of the conditions of acting according to your ilm is leaving and sparing the show off, and not acting like a person whose only intention is to express his pride over others and show off his skills to the public and his knowledge, and express his pride with regards to his knowledge. So we learned that the actions are judged by the intentions, obviously. So intention is important. So if a person is doing the intention purely to show it to people, and he thinks that he's doing a good deed, and that his deeds are perfectly fine, and there's no room for improvement, then certainly such a person is very likely to be, to be on the wrong path. And Hadeeth Paak says that the actions are judged by what they are, in fact. And what are you doing, Mr. Ray? What's that? Put that away. Do you believe? What's that? So a person who is slowed down by the apparent shape of the actions will never be, hastened, will not be taken further by his nasab. So nasab is not important. Nasab is going to remain in this dunya, except the nasab of Paak alayhi salatu wasalam. All the nasab will remain here. So being a Chaudhry, or being a Raja, or what other nasabs are there? Being a Khan won't go a long way. These will be left here, but the nasab is not important. The important thing is the piety and remaining on the path and learning the knowledge and making effort to act according to the knowledge, and not getting carried away, and not being slowed down by the deeds a person is committing. So for that reason, one should continue to do self-accountability, to make sure that he should not. He shouldn't think that he's doing it all fine. In this way, he might be committing things which might be wrong, and may not realize that. If he's not doing the accountability, he might think that I'm all well because I've learnt the knowledge and I'm a very pious person, so I don't need to keep a check of my actions. I'm all good. But he should remain in check, remain considering his actions, and never be impressed by the apparent glow of his being a pious person or the very obedient person. And from the conditions of this is that one should never be shy away from accepting that he doesn't know something. So if you don't know something, simply say that I don't know it. So many great muhaddiseen, often when they were asked about something, they would say, I don't know. I don't have a reply to that, so I'm not in a position to reply. So often they would say so. So one should be ready to accept the lack of knowledge if they don't know it. That is one of the adab and manner of learning the knowledge for the sake of Almighty Allah. If you're taking this learning the knowledge for the sake of the dunya, to get a better standing in the eyes of people, then yes, go ahead and do whatever you can. But if your intention is to do this for the sake of Almighty Allah, then one shouldn't be shying away from the fact that they are not all knowing. There are things which they basically don't know, and they need to accept. Even Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, who is the more knowledgeable than anyone else, any other creation of Almighty Allah, even he, when he was asked about we learned this early, the Hadeeth of Jibreel, when he was asked about the signs of the when the Qiyamah will happen, although he might have known, or maybe he came to know this later, or something that was not revealed to him by that time, he accepted it. He said, "Man mas'ulu biha a'la min as-sa'il," that the one being asked doesn't know more than the one asking. So he accepted his apparent or maybe a lack of knowledge at that time with regards to that, indicating that he established a sunnah to accept your lack of knowledge when you don't know a certain thing. Don't shy away from accepting that you don't know it. There's nothing wrong with that. No one will do any harm to you for that reason. So this was the simple explanation of the Hadith Paak. So I hope some of you learnt it. So Mr. Yahya was busy eating. Can you explain what I just learned, what I just told you? Huh? You can't. Only one person watching now. Where's the others? Irfan Sahab, where's Irfan Sahab, where's Amba? Alright, Yahya, Rakeen, Mustafa, Zafar.
The last thing you just explained was that if you do not know something, then you shouldn't be afraid or shy of saying that you don't know, because
Good.
Because that is the adab.
Adab, yeah, good. A manner of the knowledge. That one shouldn't, if you don't know something, then we have the courage to say I don't know it. You're not doing it for the sake of, to please the public obviously, you learn the knowledge for the sake of Almighty Allah. And for that reason, you don't have to be all-knowing. You're learning, you rely on the books and on the knowledgeable people to learn. So there might be things that you don't know. So accept that and be able to accept that. I'm not sure if Irfan Sahab is there and what about Amba, if she's watching. And Ali Rakada was meant to be there, he's not there. So only one person is watching now, so two people are missing. I'm not sure who's watching. There's one person watching but I don't know the name. Can they please mention the name? And also the other two people, can you trace them please? Zafar? Where's Ali?
I'll ask him.
Yeah. Where's Ali and where's Irfan Sahab? Right, so that was Hadith number 36 now. Let's move on to Hadith number 37 swiftly. long hadith. Hadith number 37. If you have the books, you can open this in front of you. And so the lesson from the last hadith we learned, summarization or summary of that would be that a Muslim should always help another Muslim brother, relieve their pain, relieve their difficulties, be ready to help the Muslim brothers, and expect the same for you then in the life hereafter. If you want to relieve your difficulties of the life hereafter that we learned earlier, then one way of that is helping Muslim brothers in this dunya and making sure that you are there and whenever they need you in their hour of need. So similarly, we talked about, so we're going to talk about hadith number 37 now. We intend to finish this off within the next few minutes. I don't think we can do so. Maybe next time. Next time we'll try and finish the book off, inshallah ta'ala. We have 40 hadiths and we are reaching hadith number 37 today. Which is long hadith, so it will take us some time to finish this off now. Hadith number 37 reads that, let me put this on the screen for you as well. There we are. Hadith number 37. Okay, so hadith number 37 raised by Hazrat Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, says that Aqal said with regards to Almighty Allah, and he related this from the Almighty Allah. So hadith Qudsi, in fact, that Almighty Allah said, Inna Allah ta'ala katab al-hasanati was-sayyi'at. The Almighty Allah recorded the good deeds and the evil deeds. And then he wrote, and then he explained and clarified that فَمَنْ حَمَّ بِحَسَنَةٍ فَلَمْ يَعْمَلْهَا كَتَبَهَا اللَّهُ تَعَالَى عِنْدَهُ حَسَنَةً كَامِلَةً. That the person who intends to do a good deed but never managed to do it, still Almighty Allah writes, notes down in his book of deeds a complete deed for him, complete good deed for him. وإن هم بها فعملها كتب الله عنده 10 حسنات إلى 700 ضعف إلى أضعاف كثيرة. But if he went on and did perform the deed, Almighty Allah will record in the book of deeds up from the 10 deeds up to 700 times and even more than that. But if he intends to do an evil deed, and Almighty Allah and goes ahead and do so, Almighty Allah only records one evil deed. That's the mercy of Almighty Allah. So when a person performing good deed, Almighty Allah notes down, records up to 700 deeds, depending on the intensity, the intention of the person doing so, and the time of the year when they do so. In Ramadan they get more reward, and other than Ramadan there's less reward. However, and similarly in Makkah and Medina there's more reward and there's less reward in other places. So depending on the action and the conditions attached to it, they get reward accordingly. But the bad deed, the person commits only one bad deed to be recorded. That's how Bukhari and Muslim narrated this. Then so Hadith Paak basically finishes up to here. So this is Hadith Paak, and then below is only an explanation of that. So up to that Hadith Paak, that's where you need to note down. And right, so Imam Nawawi says then, after this, that Fandur ya akhi, look at this brother now. May Allah give us the tawfiq and grant us His great lutf and blessing and bounties. And His kindness, that he said, and consider the words he used. He said in the who's that he notes, when he notes this down in the who, he notes it in his book of deed. So in the who, near him. So meaning that with himself, this points to his great care with regards to the actions of the servants. So every action that you do is he keeps that he records that close to him, with himself. He keeps that with himself. So that is how he is aware of you, and similarly concentrate when he said he notes hasratan kamilatan. If he didn't do it, he would still note down a complete pious good deed for him. Imam Nawawi is saying this now. And this, so he says that this is because it's for the emphasis. The complete is for emphasis, not to point to the intensity of his care with regards to it. And sorry, for the intensity and also for the emphasis attached to it. And whereas when he referred to this, when he was referring to Hasana, he didn't do the Hasana, but he notes it down. He referred to this as Kamila, complete Hasana. So this complete was meant to be an emphasis. But at the same time, when he noted down the Sayyi'ah, which he did, he only referred to this as Sayyi'atin Wahida without Kamila, not complete. So only one Sayyi'ah, one bad deed. So compared to the good deed, the evil deeds, there is less emphasis placed on that. So he is a great, such great the blessing that when he was mentioning the Sayyi'ah, the Hasana, he emphasized that with Kamila, the complete word, whereas when he mentioned talking about Sayyi'ah, he reduced it, not emphasized it, not made it complete, but reduced it by saying Sayyi'atan Wahida, only one Sayyi'ah, only one. So reduced that. So reduced the effect of that by mentioning these words. So did not emphasize this in the same manner as he emphasized the Hasana. So this greatness shows the greatness of Almighty Allah and His great blessing and mercy. So when He is willing to give reward, He gives this in great number. Great amount. But when it comes to the sins, He reduces this to minimum level for the benefit of the public. So this was one of the explanations that was made by Nawawi himself. Now, this Hadith Paak now indicates clearly that Almighty Allah has such great mercy that someone who intends to do good deeds, and Almighty Allah basically grants him, even if he doesn't manage to do it, he will still get a reward just by intending to do good deed. He'll get the reward of good deed, and if he went ahead and did it, then he will get the reward of up to 700 good deeds. Rakim, are you not jotting this down? Rakim, are you noting it down? Rakim, are you listening to me? what are you going to do now? Put a number of the hadith and next to it some meaning of it so that you can recall this later. You don't come here for wasting time, you know. This is important, and you just learned how important and how rewarding it is to make effort in the way of Allah to learn the knowledge. So you can't even make the effort to lift the pen. That is strange. You can only make efforts to finish off the biscuits. Yeah. Where's your hat?
Mm.
Oh, what a shame.
Excuse me.
So small. What's wrong with you? Put the biscuits away now. Enough is enough. Learn, concentrate. Okay. Okay, so Amber's watching, but Ali Rakhada is not there, and Irfan Sahib, I'm not sure where he's gone. Did you ask him, Zafa? Ali not asked? Strange. So when we finished our stream of Aqidah, from that point, they all left. Strange. So let's just finish this Hadeeth Paak and then we'll go for a break, inshallah ta'ala. The simple hadith, not much to explain that. So Almighty Allah grants the reward of good deeds in many folds, whereas their sins are reduced or reduced to only one. If the person doesn't go ahead and perform the sin and is saved away from that he still gets, he doesn't get this written in his book of account of deeds. If he does so, then this is only reduced to one sin, and eventually, if he repents, that can also be forgiven. So this is simple meaning of the Hadeeth Paak that we learned today, and that means that is also time for a break. So inshallah, after the break, we'll come to our lesson of Nur al-Idah, in which we are studying the topic of namaz. So we will quickly finish the topic of namaz, inshallah ta'ala, and after that move on to Sawm. The Sawm, we want to cover that for the month of Ramadan. Yes, you have a question?
Do you know how you said that only 1 in 1,000 people go to heaven?
That was early in the first lesson, yeah.
But does that mean only the really pious people go to heaven?
This also means that the disbelievers are in such great number that 1 in 1,000 is a believer, and others are disbelievers. So it was explained in Hadeeth Paak actually, when this was mentioned. Sahaba Ikram asked them, Ya Rasulullah, then who will be saved? We will all go to hellfire. He said, no. Because your number of the entire Muslim community, those who believe in Almighty Allah, compared to them is very small. So disbelievers are in large number, great numbers. So only 1 in every 1,000 will be a believer. And still, you see the great numbers of believers. Compared to the disbelievers, they are this small quantity. So the day of judgment, there will be such small a number. Others, disbelievers, will be great in number. Majority of them will be disbelievers. So majority has always been with the disbelievers. So majority, people who say majority is authority, is not the truth. I was replying to a person yesterday, and a strange person was commenting on Shaykh Baraat. And he was saying that just because majority follow the Shaykh Baraat, doesn't make this authentic. And because a majority of them also follow other things. So how can he do so? So I told him that majority, it is majority that's referred to as authentic. As a source of authenticity is the majority of the ulama, not the majority of the public. Alright? So if the ulama agreed upon this, then you are bound to follow it. The majority of the world will always gather, it's mentioned in the Holy Quran, that if you follow the majority of the dunya people, they will always lead to a stray. They will, stray you from the right path. It's mentioned in the Holy Quran. So majority of the world has always been on the wrong path. Only the minority were on the right path, who were attached to the path of Almighty Allah. So on the day of judgment, these people will be a small minority. The majority, every 999 in 1,000 will go to hellfire. One person will go to Jannah. Is that clear? So time for a break, and you come back at 2 o'clock sharp. 2 o'clock sharp.
It's supposed to be 2:25.
Why?
1 hour break.
No, you don't get 1 hour break.
Why?
Could be 5 past 2, but no further than that.